Well, thanks very much for the kind introduction. My name is JP Vargas de la Vega. I'm the Managing Director and Founder of Galan Lithium Limited. I'm very excited to be here in Singapore. This is my first time ever here, and in the last few days I've been talking to quite a few people from Singapore. They've been very welcoming, so I'm really pleased to be here. So thank you for that. Now, about Galan. I have got 20 minutes to give you an update where we're at, and the most important thing the message that I'd like you to take from Galan is that in 2 years' time, Galan will be a lithium producer. So we are working very hard, we're rallying the troops, we're working at all fronts to get into production. We understand, and there's a deficit in production, there's a deficit in the long-term future, and we want to take advantage of that while the prices are high, and we want to strike while the iron is hot. Now, this picture that we have here, it's although it's very simple, they are evaporation ponds at the Ombra Morta West. It has taken us a little while to get there, but now we are almost about to give results from our evaporation ponds. And itself, and so this is, here we are, sorry. What we're doing and moving rapidly is into production, as I mentioned, and the picture is showing where we're at. But Galan is very different to the usual salt flat that you have found in Argentina. And why is that? We have probably the highest grade project in Argentina, with one of the lowest grade levels of impurities, and probably one of the least variable ones. And this is a key important aspect when you come into production. And why is that? When you come into production, and simple rule of mining, you have, even in a hard rock, you have high grade, low grade. You need to blend your rock and then put into your processing plant. Nature has given us a gift in the variability of high grade, low grade is pretty much almost the same. In other words, our brine goes straight into the ponds, into the concentration, and we don't have to play much with the variability. Why is that important? The reason why it's important is because you have a known flow and known grade, known impurities that will follow a trajectory into the concentration path that the evaporation route gives. And importantly, you're not losing lithium. In other words, your recovery grades are very high. So there are plenty of examples with other salt flats that the variability is quite high. We don't find that. And we're very pleased with this gift of nature that keeps on giving. Now, this is a picture of what we have, and we have today 5.8 million tons of lithium carbonate equivalent. How big is this if you're not familiar with lithium? If you've seen the news last week, our resource is, at Ombra Morta West, is equivalent to Liontown's resource by 100,000 tons higher. Overall, it's bigger because if we add Candelas, then we have 6.5 million tons sitting on the ground. We're going to come up with a resource update very soon that will increase our number. It is important because we have the resource, we have one of the highest content of measured into our resource with the highest grade in Argentina. So we're lining the ducks in such a way that we are going to be producing, not only because we have the grade, the tonnage, and importantly, we have the people. And I'll come back into that in a minute. So how are we going to get there? Well, we have, in October, we launched our permits for, I'll call it our stage 1 development. We're going to come up with a DFS sometime late this month, or before if we can. And we have a development that have 2 stages. Stage 1 is 4,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent in lithium chloride. Physically, that's 12,000 tons of lithium chloride. And we are on the cusp of a transformation point to production, as I mentioned early on. We have lodged the permit that we believe that are going to be granted this quarter, the second quarter of the year, calendar year. We're coming up with a DFS within the same time frame. We're going to be lodging also our large development permits, and that it's a combination with after the DFS. So we have a lot of things going for us. And then the second half of this year, we're going to have the execution of these 4,000 tons. 9 to 12 months of construction, as we construct the first pond, imagine you're constructing the first big pond, you start filling that pond. So the process of evaporation takes around 9 to 12 months, give or take, where you start your production and your evaporation process. Our expectation is that by the first half of 2025, we should be getting cash flow from these 4,000 tons. This is our first step going into production. We're going to grow from then, but we want to grow in such a way that it doesn't affect. CapEx for this 4,000 ton development should be sub $100 million. And that's very important because we're not going to come out with big numbers into the market to scare them with our CapEx requirement. But we can do something organically, we can walk before we run, and then we can start with 4,000 tons and then increase that into the future. Why are we doing lithium chloride instead of lithium carbonate? We're doing lithium chloride because we get to market quicker, we get in 25 instead of 27. A lithium carbonate plant will require working capital for 2 years, and we're not going to get paid. So we want certainty, we want to walk before we run. And importantly, we want to be a mining company, and we can be a mining company by producing lithium chloride concentrate. If we are a lithium carbonate plant, if we have the carbonate plant, we'll become a lithium chemical producer. So it's a very different thing. And if you've seen other companies that tried to do this in the past, it shows that things are not that quickly done. So we want to walk, then we run. We want to mature the project. We want to keep our CapEx low. We want to be able to become a lithium company because we have people ready to execute this. This is a snapshot of a market cap where we see it. Top 20 shareholders has got 51% of the company. I know most of them, those top 20. And I'm seeing local shareholders here in Singapore, which I'm very pleased to see. Directors and management's got around 13%, and we have cash to finalize our study that we're doing at the DFS at Ombra Morta West. We have budgeted 3 more wells. We finished well number 4. We'll have 6 production wells that can produce anywhere between 8 to 10,000 tons already fully permitted. Now, what do we have to go for us? We are in a downturn, and we have the opportunity to grow in value, and this is my invitation to you to participate at Galan at a point in time when we have a very mature project compared where we've been for a re-rate. This is a timetable of the things that we've done. Importantly, what we're coming here is permits again, 4,000 tons. We're going to execute in the second half of the year. We're going to become a producer in the first half of 2025. So summarizing where Galan is, we have a world-class location, as I mentioned, high grade, low impurities. We have compelling economics that I'll show you in a minute. And we have a way of doing this in a very simple way that doesn't require a lot of energy and doesn't require fresh water. The key thing is fresh water. People talk about water loosely. The point here is fresh water. We're evaporating our brine, and we require low amount of fresh water to use for our processing. Most of the water, the fresh water, we require is for the camp, for the people that live at the camp, and to clean some of the piping, and that's pretty much it. And lastly, to add dissolved lime into the liming process of adding to the brine to separate the impurities from the chloride. And this is a key thing because we're using the sun to our advantage. The sun is there for free, the sun is not going to charge us, and we use plenty of sun that we have. Just to give you a reference, 60 millimeters of brine, so 60 millimeters of rain we have a year. So if you are in that part of the world, you'll be happy to see a cloud. So we don't have much rain, and something probably that doesn't add up here, but in that part of the world, at 4,000 meters at the Andes, the tropic, on the other side of the Atacama Desert, the rain is very low, and we're using the sun to our advantage. So next thing is that we have a fantastic team, and we have probably the best people around to execute. And I don't say this loosely because it's just Galan. No, it's because of the curriculum that these people have that can execute into the next step. And beyond, we have a pipeline of projects that can make Galan a larger developer, a larger producer down the track. So a map of our operations, or where the operations will be, we are located at the Lithium Triangle. You hear many times where the Lithium Triangle is. And we are next door to POSCO, Livent, and Allchem. So these are big companies that are operating there. the good thing that we've been able to do is to demonstrate that we have high grade, low impurities, and the resource keep on growing. So just to give you an idea, we will have a similar size project in terms of the volume that it has, that Allkem has. And if this was a barbecue like you'll do in Argentina, we could say that we have the best barbecue in town. And why? I'll show you in terms of the chemistry. But this is just a reference of the salt flat of Hombre Muerto. And I will say that the picture you see there, you can fit Singapore easily in there. So 700 square kilometers, more or less is the size of the whole picture. So the salt flat of Hombre Muerto, it is not a small place. So here's the chemistry. We have high grade, low impurities, and to your right, you have grade. So on the axis, on the bottom axis, we have grade. So the further to the right you are, the higher the grade of the resource. Galan is at the extreme right. Now, what you see on your left is a mix, so it's a ratio of magnesium to lithium. So the lower you are on the screen, the lower the impurities. That means that our starting point is probably one of the best in Argentina. And if you look next to it, you'll see Livent, you'll see POSCO, and also you will see Allkem. So pretty much, in other words, I'm saying the brine of Hombre Muerto, they're all cousins. They're all very similar in terms of the chemistry, and with the highest grade. So some people ask me, why don't you do DLE? DLE has been around. Well, we are in the middle of the Andes. We don't have plenty of power. We don't have plenty of fresh water available. If you look at Livent's expansion plan, the third expansion plan is ponds. And they say, why? Low capex, low water consumption. So we are doing what we know we can do with high grade, low impurities, that's proven, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel, because we know that the current technology that exists, it is not necessarily amicable where we are at to produce lithium chloride concentrate without, or carbonate, whichever you go, without a high input of energy and low uses of fresh water. And that's a key important point. Now, we have 100% of the Hombre Muerto West, both projects, we have them 100%, and there is no royalties to a third party. So this is as clean as it can be. You can see some of the metrics that we did on the previous PEA. Our next study is going to come for the lithium chloride solution only. And why are we going through lithium chloride? Once again, I refresh you, is because we're coming online on 2025, cash flow earlier. We're going to be using less capex, and also we require less working capital and less uncertainty in the project delivery. So we have, the piloting has commenced at Hombre Muerto West, as you see in the picture. It's a beautiful picture of the salt flat. We have results coming up in May for the confirmation of our target of 6% lithium concentrate in the lithium chloride. Now, if this was lithium oxide that comes from Australia, where most of the lithium comes from, that will be approximately 12% lithium oxide. So there's not 12% lithium oxide out there. Joe, Laurie call it liquid spodumene. We believe that we can place this within Argentina. So the economics for a 12%, if the Australians can do it with 6% or maybe less, we can do it with 12%, no problems, and make it very profitable. The same thing, we have our second project, Candelas. We've done a study, it's all compelling, and I'll come into the next one as why this is very important. As more producers come into the industry, the tail of that cost curve is going to increase. We're going to be remaining in the first quartile or in the first half of the industry. No matter what happens, if there's a crisis in the world, COVID number 2 comes in, we want to get online, because once we start producing, no one is going to take us out, because the lithium industry pretty much needs to collapse for us to be out of the equation. So why lithium carbonate, why lithium chloride, and why we're going to go in that way? As I mentioned early on, the ESG credentials are very strong. Why we use the sun to advantage? Plenty of sun there at Atacama, put a lot of sunscreen because radiation is quite high. There is no coincidence, a lot of observatories in the vicinity as well. We have a very strong commitment with the local community, and then I've been part myself as a company founder, trying to make this work to make a difference to the community. We are actively been doing, even when COVID hit, we donated respirators that were highly needed for people that had COVID. People forgot about COVID, but we were there. We bought respirators from Argentina, and we've been, in the second picture, we are with the governor of Catamarca. We're doing a donation to the local hospital of Antofagasta de la Sierra, which is the closest hospital unit close to our operations. And the Catamarca government asked you to have 70% of the labor force from Catamarca itself. We are doing that throughout all our operations and people that we have at camp, but we're also doing this in a way that we want to empower people down the track. We are putting more effort in to get this online, and the female force is around 30% today in Argentina of participation. So we are quite proud of our achievements and where we are going. So more about the ESG. Now we are coming online in 2025, and we have kicked several goals to get there. So we're going to be executing in the second half of this year. We have a few alternatives of funding, and we're trying to preserve shareholders' value the best we can. So about our board, we have 4 board members today. We have Richard, myself, Daniel, and Terry. Chris has been joining us since day 1 at Galan, and he's stepping down in May. And Claudia recently joined SQM. She was from SQM in the past, worked with Ad Infinitum for a number of years, knows the project very intimately, and she's been adding a lot of value into all the study and the processing that we've done. So I couldn't be happy with the team that I have at the board level. But importantly, we just got Juan Carlos Barrera. He was the Senior Vice President of Operation of SQM. 2 senior VPs from SQM, hydrogeologist that is our geology manager. We have people that have been there, have experience, and we are pointing on track to become a producer in 2025. So it's all happening in Argentina, but as an infomercial, this is not all. We have green bushes, we're drilling, and we're going to come out with the results of our drilling campaign sometime May, June, all depending on the lab. So the labs are quite busy. We have something that is south of the Green Bushes mine. So this is our first go. We have plenty of targets, so this is not the only one. So this is the only one that we could do quite quickly and get online very quick to production, to drill to get our exploration going. So in summary, production, high grade, low impurities, fantastic team. We're going to get there, and see you in 2025 when we are in production. We'll be a very different company. So thank you very much.